Cole Harrow woke up alone in Pale Hollow, and the last 3 weeks of his life were just gone. His 3 men had vanished. No blood, no signs of a fight, no footprints. The only thing they left behind were their boots, sitting perfectly upright next to the dead fire. Like 3 men had just walked right out of their own shoes and disappeared into thin air. The horses were still there. The gold was still there. And at the edge of the trees, something was standing in the shadows, just far enough away that Cole couldn't tell if it was real or not. He got on his horse and rode away without looking back. That was his first mistake. Cole Harrow was not a good person. In the spring of 1887, he robbed the Callaway Bank and killed 2 workers. He also shot a marshal, left him with a bullet stuck near his spine for the rest of his life. After that, Cole rode south with 3 men and a bag full of stolen gold, planning to disappear and never be found. He had done worse things before that. Things the newspapers never found out about. Things his own crew didn't bring up around the campfire at night. Cole wasn't the kind of man who hurt people because he enjoyed it. That's actually what made him more dangerous. He hurt people the way a long dry spell hurts a farm, without feeling anything about it. Ricky Dole was his right-hand man. Ricky had been a soldier, and war had taught him that taking a life was easier than anyone had ever warned him. He spent the rest of his years trying not to think about how easy it had been. Two-Finger Pete was a quiet man who said very little and missed nothing. He got his name the hard way. Two Fingers lost to a rusted bear trap somewhere in the Montana hills when he was just a boy. He never complained about it, never even mentioned it. And somehow, with only 8 fingers, he was still the best shot any of them had ever seen. The last man in the group was a young kid they called Sunday, probably 19 years old at most. Nobody knew his real name. He had followed Cole out of Tucson one day, and Cole had let him come along, the way you let a stray dog follow you, because sometimes it's useful to have one around. 4 men, stolen gold, and one very bad choice about where to sleep that night. Nobody camped in Pale Hollow, not even the Comanche. And they were people who knew the land better than anyone. Back in 1874, some settlers tried to build homes there. They left everything behind: tables, chairs, animals, even a rocking chair that was still moving on a porch when there was no wind at all. They walked away and refused to talk about why. The valley was tucked between 2 ridges in southern New Mexico, about 40 miles from the closest town. The grass that grew there was pale and flat, even after rain. The light looked off somehow. Sounds didn't echo the way they should. People who passed through said they felt like someone was watching them, but no matter how fast they turned around, there was nothing there. Cole didn't believe in any of that. He picked Pale Hollow because it was hidden from the main trail and protected from the wind. He was tired. He didn't know the stories. That first evening, his horse wouldn't touch her food. She just stood there shaking, staring at the tree line on the far ridge with her eyes wide open. Cole told her she was being stupid and tied her rope shorter. The 4 men divided the gold. They built a fire. Sunday made beans and started humming a low, slow song that none of the others had ever heard before. When they asked him what it was, he said he had no idea. Said it had just appeared in his head from nowhere. Cole fell asleep holding his gun. He woke up alone. The fire wasn't just burned out. It was completely dead. The sky was that flat gray color you get just before sunrise, when the light hasn't decided what it wants to be yet. 3 sleeping rolls, all empty. 3 horses, still tied up. All the bags and equipment still sitting right where they'd been left. And 3 pairs of boots, standing side by side next to the cold ash. perfectly upright like they were waiting for their owners to come back. There were no footprints going anywhere. The ground was soft mud. It would have shown tracks easily, but there was nothing. Cole stood there in the early gray light for a long time. He checked his gun. He called out their names: Ricky, Pete, Sunday. But the valley seemed to absorb every sound before it could bounce back, like shouting into a thick blanket. Then he looked toward the tree line on the far ridge, and something looked back at him. He got on his horse and rode away without looking back. Then he went to the church, trying to describe it later, talking to the preacher. He kept trying to find the right words and couldn't. He said it looked like the shape of a man, but only the way a shadow looks like whatever made it. He said it wasn't moving. He said it felt like something that had all the time in the world. He said it had been standing there the entire night. Here is what Cole told the preacher. Here is what got written down and then locked away and never shared. He said, "I need to tell someone what happened, and I need you to write every word of it down." The preacher wrote for 4 straight hours. Cole talked without stopping. No food, no water, eyes never leaving that cross. He told the preacher about Pale Hollow. He described the boots. He talked about the 3 weeks he couldn't remember, and the strange evidence on his body that told him he had not been sitting still with anyone. Cole had never actually left Pale Hollow that morning. He believed he had. He had a clear memory of riding out, watching the valley disappear behind him, the open desert spreading out ahead, stopping to camp somewhere normal where the grass was green and his horse was calm. He had 3 full weeks of memories that felt completely real, but none of it had happened. He had been in Pale Hollow the whole time, walking through it, sleeping in it, eating what little food he had left, but never once crossing the tree line on either ridge, never once actually leaving. Something had been watching him every moment of those 3 weeks. He only found out the truth on the final morning, when the feeling of being watched suddenly vanished. Just like that, like a hand being lifted off your shoulder, like a door quietly closing somewhere nearby. And he looked down at his hands. They looked wrong. Not hurt, not just dirty. Wrong, like they were the hands of someone who had been doing things Cole had no memory of. There were old scratches on his palms that had already healed over. His boots had dried mud from ground he couldn't remember walking on, and his gun had been fired. He checked every chamber. 3 bullets gone. He had no memory of firing it even once. That's when he rode out. For real this time. The valley let him leave. He never went back for the gold. When he was done, he said one last thing. "I don't think Ricky and Pete and Sunday are dead. Honestly, I think being dead would have been the better outcome for them." Then he stopped. He leaned back in the pew. He put his hat back on his head. The preacher asked him what he thought should be done about all of this. Cole said, "Nothing. There's nothing anyone can do. I just needed at least one person in this world to know what happened out there." They found Cole the next morning, still sitting in that same front row, hat in his hands, eyes open, back straight, no injuries, no explanation. The town doctor said his heart had simply stopped beating. He was 31 years old, and every single hair on his body, head, beard, arms, had turned completely white. The preacher put his 4 hours of notes into a plain envelope and locked it in the church safe. He never told a single person what was inside. Not his wife, not his congregation, not the marshal who came through 2 months later asking questions about Cole Harrow. The preacher died in 1902. When his wife was clearing out the safe, she found the envelope. She said that just holding it made her teeth hurt, like grabbing a fence with electricity running through it. She burned it without reading it. She said she didn't need to know that badly. The gold in Pale Hollow was never found. Plenty of men went looking over the years. Most of them came back. The ones who did come back never talked about what they saw out there, and not a single one of them ever went back a second time. Ricky Dole, Two Finger Pete, and the young kid called Sunday were never found. No bodies, no graves, no one who saw anything. As far as any official record is concerned, 3 men simply stopped existing sometime in the autumn of 1887. Pale Hollow is still out there. The grass is still that wrong pale color. The light still falls in a way that doesn't look quite right, and every few years somebody decides to camp there for the night. They always leave their boots behind.